Good evening, welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this Wednesday evening. It's probably going to be quiet tonight again because there's Champions League football on, and when there's Champions League football on, there's generally a lower amount of people on if we're not doing. Come back to the One Celtic. I'll watch along. Good evening, welcome back to the. Just turn this down. How are we all doing this evening? There's a bit of news that I think we need to talk about tonight, with all the talk about rebuilds at Celtic and Celtic being linked with numerous players. Celtic allegedly in talks with agents. What if the manager doesn't want these players? But anyway, cut my lip earlier. The big news tonight is the fact that FIFA are going to be handing out like money like confetti. In this World Cup, FIFA Council increases the financial distribution for the FIFA World Cup in 2026. It means countries like Scotland will receive even more money, which is good for the nation. Would I rather be a nation once again? Anyway, talking about FIFA and all things international football, they look to bring in a new rule. The governing body, if approved, is currently going through a consultation process with other international bodies and associations, and they want to bring in the next 12 months that all senior clubs would be required to have at least one homegrown player under the age of 21 on the pitch at all times. So not only does it mean that they have to have a player that's under 21 on the bench, it means they have to have a player that can start every single game, or maybe in rotation. So what would that mean for Celtic in the current squad? Well, it would be a massive boost for Colby Donovan. Colby Donovan's the only one that's sort of at the under 21 age that looks as if he's going to get any regular time. It would mean that the 19-year-old, yes, Colby Donovan's only 19. Madness. Absolute madness. Is Colby Donovan, he would be one player that would get more appearances. The right back, who's currently got a valuation of £1 million at Celtic, has had, how many games has he had this season? I'm quite sure, actually. 14 games. 14 games he's had this season. In the league, one in Europa and one in the SFA Cup and one in the Challenge Cup, where he was playing for the B team. So, a lot of fake injuries would happen. Let me see what you think about that in the comment section. Because I think that it's something that could catch Celtic if they do not have. I mean, our B team's not looking like producing any under 21s this season. There's nobody going to get any games between now and the end of the season other than maybe Colby Donovan may make the bench, but it's even doubtful that Colby Donovan would make the bench. When you look at the squads over the last couple of weeks, I'm going to Twitter, or do I have it on here? Do I have the previous squad? No, I deleted it. Let me get the last team up that was out at the weekend, because that will give you an indication to the bench. And it would mean massive changes at Celtic. It would mean changes to the bench. You would have to have at least one under 21 player on the bench, homegrown as well. It can't be a foreign nationalist that's been brought in. There you go, there's the bench there. We did have Murray. So Dane Murray was on the bench at the weekend. So he is one player that would qualify for that new rule. When you look at the starting 11, Sinisalo, Ralston, Trusty, Scales, Kieran Tierney, McGregor, Engels, Benji Negrin, Jamesy Forrest, Yang and Dyson Maeda. There was not one player under the age of 21 that had came through the system at Celtic. You did have Alistair Johnson on the bench, Ross Dohan on the bench, who is over 21. He's about 26, 27, isn't he? Luke McCown, he is homegrown but didn't come through the system at Celtic. Iniacho, Oxlade Chamberlain, Tenecte, Sirachi, Hatate, and Dane Murray. That only makes one player, one homegrown player. It would mean a massive change to Celtic. It would mean having to. I mean, we spoke about it last night about the state of the B team and the inability for B team players to get games due to the fact that Celtic will go out and try and bring in talent, try and buy talent, and it's not worked very well, is it? There's one player that has who left Celtic in the previous window, and even at the club that he's on loan at, he himself thinks he has been poor. What chance does that give Celtic? And what chance does it give the youngsters at Celtic when a loanee like Hateo Inamura can come to Celtic, keep out the youngsters that are coming through the system, not be good enough, sent back out on loan, and still not be good enough back in his home nation? There's going to have to be massive changes at the club. Martin O'Neill has recently been talking about the fact, Martin O'Neill must have had wind of this because he's been talking about the fact that Celtic need to get their act together and they need to bring through youngsters. Why don't we just extend McGregor's contract till he's 40? Watch him pass back to Scales all day. Rebuild my arse, says Green for Go. Green for Go, I wouldn't want to go near your arse, to be honest, and to rebuild it. Has it been battered? And need to bring in skills for young talent. Tempted to. Oh God, a lot of fake injuries will happen. Always see an Irish flag at Arsenal games. What's that to do with Celtic? Wow. Um, Stephen Johnson's in the house tonight. People were asking for you this morning, Stephen. Mr. Tomboy says that's nuts. Is it nuts though? Or is it protecting the game? Because it's easy for clubs to go out and allegedly buy success. It's easy for clubs to go out, and especially at the bigger clubs, and especially in Europe. There's not many clubs that are like Barcelona that are bringing through younger players that are absolutely phenomenal. It could be the case that the talent, is Yamal the next superstar? Other than Yamal, I mean, who out there would you say is of an age around about Yamal that you could see is going to be the next superstar? Over the years, you had sort of bunches of football superstars at any age group, and you could pick one or two out from each country. It's kind of hard to do that now. It could be a good thing, could it be a bad thing? Green for Go says Forrest, Scales, McGowan, and probably Captain Passback. Yes, that's what we'll be looking forward to next season. Keane as manager. What a nightmare scenario. Green for Go. How about some positivity? Give us some Scottish players that you would have at the club, because you have to have a Scottish contingent at the club. And if you can give us players that are Scottish, that can play better, that have similar experience, put them in the comment section. That's what it's for, rather than all this negativity. Don't need negativity in my life right now. That kind of stuff, we get enough of it from Celtic. Have a bit of positivity. It's not good for your mental health, mate. Stephen Johnson's Jim Lister is asking if you're okay. Murray's 22, so that would make Dane Murray even too old for the new FIFA rule if it comes into play. Interesting. It's unworkable. You'd need 3 or 4 to cover injuries, burnout, suspensions, etc. I think it should be a minimum 3 in the playing squad, but to have teams to have to give up potential earnings. I don't think it's unworkable at all. Martin O'Neill had around about 5 under 21s in his squad when he was Celtic manager at any given time. You know, he had numerous players, numerous young players that were in and around the squad. And I think what it would do and what it would get rid of is you would be better with FIFA coming out and saying, look, every club has to have a B team and a B team league, rather than this under 21s and all the rest of it. Or maybe that's the way that they're going. They're trying to make sure that maybe FIFA are trying to make sure that there's a pathway for players to try and hit the highest level that they can. Don't know. You never know. Mark has had 10 months worth of membership. Congratulations and thank you for your ongoing support, Mark. Hello, BazTube. That win at the weekend, along with Sevco dropping points, is just what we needed. We're still in there fighting. Come on, the tick. Yes, we are, and we are in a good position. That'll be the kick up the backside that Celtic need when it comes to the academy talent. Yes, and that's the positive that I would take from any ruling, because it would mean that Celtic would. We look at the squad, and when you look at the players that are in and around the club on loan, surely if Celtic have a better academy, there's no need for a lot of these players that have come in that are at Celtic. I mean, you've got Dane Murray. Let's take the positives out of the situation as it stands. You've got Dane Murray, who's came through the system at the back. You've got Colby Donovan. The only downside is that we don't have a youngster in the midfield in the current Celtic squad that has come through the system or is on the periphery of the first team. Definitely not in the squad on an ongoing on the squad sheet anyway. When you look at Paulo Bernardo, brought to Celtic, he was under 21. He fulfilled that role of the under 21. If Celtic Academy was better, there wouldn't be the need to go out and bring Paulo Bernardo in. You would have Paul Bernard instead. And Paul Bernard might be in the team, but Paul might not be good enough. And he would be classed the same as Colby Donovan, as Liam Scales, as Dane Murray, as Tony Ralston, as Kieran Tierney, as Luke McCowan, as Callum McGregor. But Paul Bernard came through the system at Celtic, so he would qualify for that. He wouldn't now because he's about 23, isn't he? 24. I have no idea what Paulo Bernardo could be 108 for all we know. He's been here that long, it feels like. And then when you look at some of the players that are on loan, Mikel Ange Balak Wisha, Tom the Checked Out, Junior Adamu, Yang, Callum Osmond. He's not Scottish, so he wouldn't fall under. And the only reason, we all know why we went out and got Callum Osmond, is because Daniel Cummins left the club. If Daniel Cummins had stayed at Celtic, Celtic would never have brought in Callum Osmond. Not a chance. They would have pushed Daniel Cummins to be that striker that he was destined to be at Celtic, but decided it was not for him. When you look at the players out on loan, Adam Montgomery, Johnny Kenny, Shin Yamada, Stephen Welsh, Louis Palmer, Mark Norobski, who was brought in for fantastic money, Hateo Inamura, and Odom Ohm. Apart from Adam Montgomery and Stephen Welsh, Johnny Kenny was brought in at a young age. He was brought in well under the 21-year-old age bracket. That's a potential 5 other players that could come through the system at Celtic, and especially when you look at the last transfer window in Scotland, and Hearts, for instance, Hearts sold 2 players from the academy. Now, one player went out for a potential total fee of 2.5 million from the academy. It was an instant payment of 400 grand or whatever it was, and then that was rising to 2.5 million. And then there was another one there was one sold to Man City, wasn't there? And there was one sold to Spurs, who took the other lad, and they took him for 2 million. That's £4 million that the academy has created without either of those players playing first team football. Does that then make what Hearts are doing way better than what Celtic was doing? I would say it does. Because that's the whole point of the academy. The whole point of the academy is not only to bring players through for the first team, but if they're not deemed good enough for the first team and somebody else wants to come in and buy them, the academy is there to bring on the players to the highest possible level that they can. And if somebody wants to come in and buy some of the Celtic academy players, I think everyone would be saying, well, why aren't we keeping them? You would be complaining then. It would be a very Celtic scenario. They would be up in arms. And they'd be complaining that these players were sold underneath their feet. And, they were selling the players too cheap. And they hoped there was a big sell-on clause and things like this. It's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. Apparently, to the last few days in January, we went for a Polish centre back. Apparently means nothing. Apparently, we're going to have a manager by the end of June. Apparently, Michael Nicholson's going to leave the club in the summer. Apparently, so is Chris Mackay. And apparently, someone's going to spend 100 million on Celtic shares and buy out Dermot Desmond. And apparently, Rangers didn't die. There you go. The last good player that came from the academy was 10 years ago, Kieran Tierney. That's a bit disrespectful to the players that have came through the academy since. I mean, you've got Colby Donovan that's on his... I mean, when you're talking about good players, you're talking about players that have been sold on. And I think that's the issue at Celtic. And it's the issue at quite a lot of clubs. I know clubs believe that players aren't good enough and they allow them to leave for free. They then go on to be 20, 30, 40 million pound players. It's all shits and giggles, as they say. If FIFA made it 3 or 4, it would make European games way more interesting. We had the 3 homegrown rule before, didn't we? And we kind of got away from that. I think that having 3 players from the academy on the pitch at one time, a lot of the bigger clubs would be really against that due to the fact that they would say it would inhibit their progress at the highest level. Ultimately, that's what a lot of the big clubs would say. There's not many clubs that can do an Alex Ferguson and bring in 6 or 7 amazing players to play at the team in one go. And remember that Alex Ferguson was told, you'll never win the league with youngsters. Fergie goes, hold my whiskey. And then dominates the league for the next 10 years or whatever it was. So yeah, it would be interesting if FIFA made it 3 or 4, but I think there would be too many of the big teams pretty much against it. The next Rangers game, ticket fiasco. I don't want to see the problem. Rangers. I'm no Celtic fans at Ibrox, so what makes them think that it should be entitled to an allocation? Who says that these younger lads will make the first teams? So unfair to demand it. If you've got players in the academy that are not good enough for your first team, then your academy's way wrong. Your academy's not fit for purpose. I think that what it's trying to do, you would think it's then trying to bring up the standard of the younger player, to make the younger player better, to make sure that the younger players... We never seem to have a problem with the age of a player before. Do you know, you get a lot of people saying that when you say he's coming up from the B team, he's a young lad. He's not young. He's 22. He's 20-year old. That's not fucking young. You get all sorts of mad comments on. I've had it on this channel. When you say somebody's young and they're 20, and you get all the old geezers, that's not young. Aye, mate, it is. You're ancient. Trust me. You're well over 50. You're ancient. 20s in football terms, in football career terms, 20 is just a baby. Don't know, they might have been playing football since they're 8. They might have been going through academies and all the rest of it, but they've not been playing adult football. So under 20, I think that if you've not got, realistically, if you've not got 3 or 4 players that are under 21 that can fight for a position in your first team, you then end up with a team of Hateo and Amuras, of Lewis Palmers, Shin Yamadas, Adam Montgomery's, Johnny Kenny's, all the players that you don't want at Celtic, your Junior Adamus, players that you think are no good, Joe Mavukas. If your academy is not producing the talent, you're then filling the team full of shite from other teams. And that's what we've got. And that's the sad reality. We've got a team, we've got a numerous amount of players that are only here to get game time. Why aren't we in a position to be giving the youth players that are coming through from Celtic that opportunity? That's the side that I think that's the argument that FIFA would be placing on teams. It's okay for you to go out and loan players from other clubs that might be within that age bracket, slightly older, but it's not giving your youth a chance. So you're either you're doing the youth a disservice, and you're not training them properly, you're not coaching them in the correct manner, you're not giving them the tools to help them be better players. The whole objective of an academy is to take a raw youngster and turn them into a superstar. Yes, there are people out there like Yamal that have got superstar in them. You've got the Jotas of the world. I had to get that one in. Or superstar from Portugal. Not everyone's going to be a Beckham. You've got to have your Peter Grants in there. And like it or lump it, your Peter Grants, your James Forrests, your Callum McGregors, your Luke McCowns, your Kieran Tierney's, your Tony Ralston, your Colby Donovan, your Dane Murray, and your Ross Dohans have to come through the club. Whether you like them or not, whether you think that they're good enough for the club, we have to have at least 3 or 4 players coming through. And I think that it would only be a good thing if FIFA do bring it in, because it will give Celtic the biggest boot up the back end that's needed for a long time. If Stevie Clark is bringing Tav in for the... What? Shut up, honestly. Seriously. I think Celtic should bring back Willie McStay for the youth setup to make things better again. Old school, mate, far too old school, and I don't think that there's people talking about let's not go backwards. Let's not bring in ex-players. I mean, that's going right back to the 1980s, bringing him as a player. Tav playing in Scotland for over 10 years, no England caps. I think he's who cares about Tav? What's wrong with you people tonight? Really? It's only positive. It would force Celtic to put more effort into the academy. Exactly. That's the way that I look at it. I think that Celtic need it's the carrot and stick thing, isn't it? It is give them a little something to aim for. Luke Graham for Dundee, Baz, right-sided young Scottish centre half, had a great season with Dundee. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about him maybe coming. Okay, let's talk about speculation, because it's getting to the start of the season where we are starting to get linked with players. We still have no manager. At this rate, you better hope that Del Boy and Rodney, who are up the stairs, they're the worst 2 trotter independent traders combination that you could ever think of, Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay, you better hope that they've got Trigger lined up as manager, because that's all you're going to get as manager. I want to know, we as fans, before anybody parts way with any kind of cash for season tickets, need to know exactly who's making these decisions. And is the future manager being consulted? There are fans that are shareholders within the club. Fans aren't just customers of the club. There seems to be an awful lot of decisions going on that should be managerial decisions. Celtic are good at saying that the manager has the final say. Bollocks. That's bollocks. Because if we go out and sign Marcelo Sarachi and the next manager goes, nah, mate, you're not getting any game time because I've got Kieran Tierney. You can mump about it all you want. You signed the contract. I wasn't here. If you don't like it, lump it. Put in a transfer request. It's a crazy situation that we're getting linked with so many players. We all know we need a rebuild, but starting the rebuild before the manager's in place, it's either a recipe for disaster or Celtic know who the next manager is and he's already been in talks with the club. Why not announce it? Give Celtic a bit of hope. Or are they scared of the backlash if they do announce it? We need better directors, scouts, the whole new setup, fresh set of ideas at the club than we currently. It's currently no good going forward. The fact is that we're producing players but not giving the pathway to the first team. Maybe if this rule had been in place, Daniel Cummins, Rocco Vata, etc., might not have left. And don't come back with the argument that they're pish at the current club, they're not doing anything or whatever. Don't know. It's all ifs and buts, isn't it? Too much of that going on with Celtic right now. I think Osmond has decent potential. Yes, I think that he is definitely one that is for the future. He knows that he needs to just get some more game time at Celtic. He was over the moon when he scored earlier on this season. It'll be interesting to see how long Celtic can keep a hold of that young player. Jim Lister says, Baz, I think Maloney is getting the blame for bringing in the players in January when we probably already identified Paul Tisdale. So it's more him to blame, I think. Surely if Maloney, if you get a list of players that Paul Tisdale has, and then you look at the disaster that's been the previous windows, surely you sit down with Nicholson and Martin O'Neill and you dissect the list of players and you go, really? Do we have to? Is this it? Is there nobody else out there? You would just sack it, surely, and say, right, bring in the young. What a decent manager would just go, do you know what? None of them are good enough. I would rather bring young boys in for the academy. Bring some young guys in for the B team. Call some of the young guys that are out on loan from the B team. Call them back, because you've got players that have been in and out. Jude Bonner, meant to be the next big thing. Kyle Urey, meant to be the next Scott Brown. Well, if that's the case, bring them back. Get them in. Sean McArdle, he had some game time last season. Never seen him again. And then that's about it, isn't it? Izzy Guzu, he made one of the games. He made the bench. But other than that, you're kind of... Ben McPherson's been loaned out. Francis Turley. Do you know, we're on about playing James Forrest when you've got Francis Turley being put out on loan. Now, I'm not saying that Francis Turley is anywhere near the level of football that James Forrest is. But if you've got younger players, and especially in that holding midfield role that he plays in, Surely you bring him back. I don't know. What's your thoughts? The youth problem starts with every young player's a sign with us, but you can't play with your local team. You can't play with your local school team. You can't play with your pals, etc. I don't see that as an issue because I know that I think that that's an old argument that's past its sell by date because when it's done right, when you look at and I keep mentioning Hearts because my cousin's son has just won the youth cup with them, and he's been at Hearts since he was a proper kid, like really young, and he got taken out his local school and put in Balerno Academy, which is right next to the Rickerton training complex that Hearts have. So they take the kids and they put them in the school there. So it's no longer about playing with the school team. They know as soon as he finishes school, it's right over to the training academy. That's fucking clever. Do you know, that's real clever. But anyway, we move on from that before folks are saying I'm a closet fucking jumbo. Um, the law of averages, we produced at least one or two that have been able to get in the first team comfortably. Yeah, this is very true. Maloney's job as pathway manager, who did you bring through? What's the point of creating a useless job for the boys? Um, the pathway manager before that was Darren O'D. The pathway manager isn't about bringing players through, it's about putting them out on loan and having conversations with the parents, having conversations with other clubs about putting them out at loan at the age of 16, 17, 18, when they're on the periphery of getting into the Celtic B team. Seemingly, Maloney did a far better job than Darren O'D, who now spends most of the time talking down Celtic on the telly and getting paid to go on podcasts all over the place, paid by the Lawwell consortium and stuff. Anyway, Academy is a big babysitter when their ma's at the bingo. Oh, Jesus, God, boy. Ben Doak. Ben Doak is probably one of the best. Yeah, and he didn't want to stay at Scotland, at Celtic. Everyone talk about Ben Doak. Yep. Why don't Celtic bring back Willie McStay again? Jim, you're just saying the same comment over and over again. I'm honestly, stop saying the same comment over and over again. You're just posting the same stuff. Anyone know how Rocco Vata's doing at Watford? They're in a relegation battle. No idea. Once they leave Celtic, I'm not interested. Do you know if you look at? Do you think that? Do you think that players of other clubs go? I wonder how that absolute turd of a player, Junior Adamu's doing at Celtic. How crazy were they? I wonder how he's doing at Celtic. Do they? Heck, they're glad to see these players out the back door. Do you think that anybody's in Germany is going, wonder how Thomas is doing over at Celtic? Are they? Heck, man. They're like, boom. Do you think that anybody is sitting going, I wonder how Junior Adamu's doing? Nope, not happening. It's not happening at all. Don't know. Do you think that anybody at Celtic is sitting wondering how's Hiteo and Moura doing? Not a jot. Even Celtic youth players have said that. Do you know? I've been out on loan at Admiral Wacker for a year, and not one Celtic member of staff came and saw me or spoke to me or came and seen any of the games that I played in. Just doesn't happen. Pro Youth does have leagues and cups and things like that for under 16, 17 age though. You're right, Baz. It's clever. Give them their due. It's well set up. It's fantastic setup that they've got over there. The wee Huns that they are. Sorry, Baz, but we need the Huns to beat the Diet Huns. Fuck's sake. We need the Huns to beat the Diet Huns. We do. A draw would do us fine, though. Celtic's youth system needs a total overhaul. I don't think it needs a total overhaul. It needs a manager. It needs a first team manager that believes in a youth system policy that can convince players that they know that he knows best. Brendan Rodgers was all about, yeah, these young players, they want $5,000 a week. They think they're better than they are. They need to go on their football education. Could you imagine somebody at Barcelona turning round to young Yamal and going, nah, mate, you're at the wrong age. You're at the wrong age. It's not happening. We're going to have to put you out on loan, son. You're going to have to go out in like a crappy club somewhere in like Scotland. Maybe put you Celtic or something. Do you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen, is it? Doak is prime example of what's wrong with Celtic. Not so funny now he's worth 25 million. Exactly. Leave Jim alone, lol. He's probably remember Stevie Chalmers, God bless, 7 years today. Yes, Jim, do. If we win this league, and I can understand what my I can understand what my older brother said. Have you spent a lifetime not understanding what your other brother said? Martin and Sean will get the 12 points needed to be the champions, and yeah, exactly. If the Huns. The thing is, he plays for them, but he's not a supporter of them. I'm ready for this season to be over. The club's got me emotionally this season. Something today, you better, honestly, everyone get a seat like this and get one of those 4-point harness seat belts that they wear in the rally cars. And then it'll have Celtic Summer written on it. Do you know what I mean? It's yeah, it's going to be a summer and a half. The problem is, we've seen it beforehand with Tierney. Play them too young and they end up made of chocolate for the rest of their career. That's reason enough to then have more younger players so that you're not putting the onus on one single individual. There's a thing called rotation. It's not necessarily that because he's a fantastic. Barcelona do it. Barcelona, if they feel that the young lads had too many games, they drop them. They've no qualms in dropping them from games, putting them on the bench. They're like, nah, but you need the break, son. You need the break. Trust us. We know what we're talking about. Talking about the last match of the season was older than me. There we go. Hoopsaholics been on the sunbed all day in the Gear Den. What time is kickoff on Sunday? It is 12 o'clock on Sunday. No, that's the Motherwell game. That's 8 o'clock, 16th of May. The Hearts game is a 12:30 kickoff. I'm just waiting on this thing down here changing. It's 12 o'clock. The thing is, it's 12 o'clock kickoff, early one this week. This is 100% bad, but that's not what we're doing. Laughing my arse off. This is very true. Right, anyway, that is me done and dusted for this evening. Celtic news, it's quiet as anything. Celtic have been very, 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 very quiet in everything they do. The only thing that they've really done today is put out some video footage of our Canadian player with talking about Alistair Johnson speaks with Celtic TV after meeting guide dog puppies on International Guide Dog Day. And there we go. That's an hour ago. Before that, it was they put some other stuff out. International Guide Dog Day, and before that they retweeted the title race continues this Sunday as Celts head to Easter Road. Watch Hibernian versus Celtic live on Celtic TV outside the UK and Ireland only. Subscribe to Celtic TV on Celtic.tv, and if you've got a Fire Stick, you can pick 2 fingers up to Celtic and say, I'm watching it on my Fire Stick. Not that I suggest that you do. if you're in the UK, and before that it was yesterday. So they have been very quiet this week, which always makes me think that there's something going on in the background. Martin O'Neill, he won't be talking till Friday. We went from an amazing quick rotation and balance to free for all. There is no structure between the club's teams. It's very true. We play the Hun Brigade, play Monday. Great chance. Yes, my mate at the paint shop said that Hibs season book holders tells me no one's going to the game on Sunday from Hibs, and that they'll want us to plump them so Hearts don't win the league. There we go. So Hibs aren't going to bring any fans. Hibs are just going to boycott their own game after having a full house at their last game, and after the club saying that they're down money this year because of people not paying tickets to go to games, and they're on about bringing back the increased for away fan allocation. But at this game, they decided to only give us 1,400 tickets. God. Going to leave the last comment of the night to Mr. Squeak. Celtic are like a toddler. Celtic are like a toddler. Silence is suspicious. It's pretty much bang on, isn't it? It's like that pesky little bism is doing something that they shouldn't be doing. What are you up to? Nothing. Liar. I'm not doing anything. Fucking, what you been doing? Nothing. Celtic fans, you bunch of little beasts. Celtic. No lo sé. Anyway, have a fantastic evening. I'm going crazy here. I need to know what it is. It's because I've not really had a drink all week. Oh, could do with a drink this weekend. Anyway, have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. And as I expected, it's really quiet tonight. The numbers have shown me that because there is Champions League game on. I should just sack it when it's like semi-final or something. Anyway, I'll catch you all in the morning.